Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Taddy. I'm an astrologer and I make videos on astrology, self-growth, self-care, self-love. So if that interests you, please continue watching, please subscribe. And in this video, I'll be talking about spiritual awakenings. Why are spiritual awakenings so painful? What is a spiritual awakening? And what you can kind of do for yourself throughout this process, because it can be a painful process, but it is a rewarding process. It is worth it. It is worth getting through, and just know you will get through this process of awakening. And let's first dive into a lot of things. First off, go get some tea, go grab some coffee, whatever you like to sip on. It'll be a more casual sit down video, but I do want to define what a spiritual awakening is. And I also just want to note that I personally just didn't want to use the term spiritual awakening for a long time. I felt very awkward to use it. I felt very self-conscious to use it. However, I feel like when you're in the spiritual community, it is this period of time where you're starting to really transform and evolve, and it's just a very good common term to use between all of us and those watching. If you've gone through it, if you know what through it means, if you know what the awakening is. And yeah, I still hesitate to using this term. I feel so uncomfortable using it, but I feel like it's the best way to describe what I went through, what other people have gone through, and how to just be more self-aware. So I'm gonna first define what my definition of a spiritual awakening is. If this is not your definition of it, that's totally okay. That's totally fine. Please note that this is what I am defining it for myself, and maybe it will help you in terms of what you're going through. And you can also search up, of course, do your due diligence, do research, and see what other people are coming up with. So first off, what is your spiritual awakening? I define a spiritual awakening as the process where you become so self-aware of yourself, your patterns, and how you are connected to everyone and everything. It is you embracing the truth of the present moment and that there is something greater than yourself. I also define it as you're no longer operating or seeking external validation, but listening to your own internal motivation. When you talk about spiritual awakenings, a lot of people also mention the dark night of the soul. And what this term saying kind of means is that you go through a lot of pain, you go through a lot of, I don't know, upset and emotional chaos to move through it, to find peace, to move through it to a place where you feel more elevated, you feel more lighter, you feel like your vibration is higher. And you go through this process where you are in such a hard place, you're in such like a depressive mode that you have to sit with it. You have to sit through your emotions, you have to sit with your feelings, and you have to process things. You have to let it go. You have to also move through it and accept it. Like, don't forget it. Don't forget why you're feeling this pain. And I want to mention that sometimes you don't know why you're feeling so much pain. I do want to mention what can trigger a spiritual awakening, because I think that's important. And from the people I've watched on YouTube, from the books I've read on spiritual awakenings, usually it's some type of relationship that triggers it. It's usually a breakup or a death of someone close to you. It could be a lot of different things that are happening where you then feel like someone is leaving your life, and then you kind of have to sit with the reality of the situation that that person is no longer there, and you are then mourning the death of who you were with that person, and that then causes you to become so self-aware of yourself, of what you're feeling, who you are you actually being. Because I do want to mention my process of how I changed rapidly through a spiritual awakening. Like, what does this mean? Like, how fast can you change as a person through a spiritual awakening? And it's a lot. You can change a lot. You can change a lot. And I think one of the most important things to take from a spiritual awakening is self-awareness. Like how self-aware are you? How healthy are you as a person? Are you doing healthy things for yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you in healthy relationships? Are you in toxic cycles that you have to break? Are you trying to heal generational trauma? What are you doing in this world, right? What is the point? What is the point of everything? And that is your spiritual awakening. That is you figuring out like, okay, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than the person who broke up with me. This is bigger than what is going on in my life. This is a whole thing. This is a whole situation. You are connected to everyone and everything in your life, okay? So you are connected to everyone, and you're starting to see maybe signs from the universe, or maybe you're seeing patterns. You're seeing repeating patterns of numbers. You're seeing patterns of why things are going the same way. Maybe you're attracting the same person into your life. Maybe you're dating a very similar person. Maybe you are realizing you're not happy with how you're acting in certain situations. Maybe you're feeling lonely in certain relationships that don't want to talk about what's really meaningful to you. And you're trying to process, like, what do I do? And I will say that a spiritual awakening can be very, very painful, because sometimes it's a very lonely process, right? Because you're like, what is going on? What am I doing with my life? It could be kind of like a midlife crisis. I don't want to go that far, but I think it will. It's kind of similar in a way, but it's more so like, what are you doing with your life? Are you aligned to your greatest and highest good? Are you actually living in your full potential? Are you actually living to your fullest potential right now? I think that's a very, very important thing to consider, because if you're like, okay, what am I doing? Right? And I do want to tell the story of like what happened to me and what I experienced, because that's what really changed my life, right? I went through this breakup with my ex, and right after it, I had this very, very strong urge to write a poetry book, which is called Revisions of the Moon, and the link for that is down below. But it is a poetry book on my emotions, me processing the breakup, me processing two relationships, me trying to learn to love myself. Like, learning to love yourself is part of this process too. I want to mention that, but I think that's more so at the end, because you're going to go through so much pain and hurt, and you're like, what is this? What am I actually feeling? And sometimes you're feeling your own pain and hurt of mourning a relationship, mourning loss of others, but sometimes you're also just feeling pain from, maybe it wasn't your pain, maybe it was generations of pain, maybe it's generations of the females in your family who were not able to speak their voice, to say what they wanted to say. Maybe it's been that all along. Maybe it's you processing that. Maybe it's you not feeling like you have a voice, that you can be yourself, that you can live the life you want to live. Like, it's this breaking point where you're like, nothing matters anymore. That's what I felt. And then I'm like, I need to do what I can for myself. I need to do what I want to do. And sometimes people will not accept that. People will not accept you doing what you want to do for yourself. Like, for me, after my breakup, I really felt this strong pull, this universal pull of like, you have to write this poetry book like right now. You have to write it right now. I was like, you have to write this book right now. And the interesting thing is, that was the beginning stage, but what really happened afterwards was, the main thing you have to do with your spiritual awakening is to share your story. You have to share what you are experiencing. You have to share your life. You have to share who you are authentically. Who are you authentically? Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you as you are? And the part of yourself where you feel as though you're afraid to share, and you're afraid that other people will reject you. Other people will think you're vain, or they might think you're not enough. And that's not true. But we have this instilled fear that other people won't accept us for who we are. And that is when you're going through a spiritual awakening, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I flip this switch? Like, everyone I know who has gone through a spiritual awakening in my personal life, they have told their story. They have shared the hardest, darkest parts of themselves in a public platform or online, or they have shared it with very close friends. They have shared things that they're embarrassed of. They shared their shadow selves with others so that they could like release it, to let it go, because you can't fully move on from things. You can't fully process things unless you share it, unless you let it out of your system and you share it with the world and you share it with others, because that will set you free. That will set you free, and you will feel so much better. You'll feel so much lighter. And it's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's very, very hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to, you know, feel safe in places where you might not feel like you belong. And if you feel that way and you resonate with me at all, I have a community. I have a Patreon community, and you're welcome there if you want to meet new friends, if you just want to feel supported in the astrology art world, then the link for that is down below. We're happy to have you. But just know that, like, it's a hard process. It's a very hard process to like process your emotions, to then be who you are, who you authentically are. I have a whole video on stepping into your authentic self. You could check the link for that, hopefully at the end of this video. Just know that this is a process. You will get through it. You will get through this spiritual awakening. And this is you being connected to everything. You are seeing how your thoughts become reality. I think that's another important thing about spiritual awakenings. Your thoughts become reality. You start to see, like, who are you connected to? You become so self-aware. You might start meditating. I have a whole video on meditation if you want to see the benefits of meditation. The link for that at the end of the video. But you kind of get to see who you really are and what is your fullest potential. And that is the beauty that comes out of a spiritual awakening. You get to actually see your fullest potential, and you are then becoming more proud of yourself. You're starting to learn how to love yourself. It's a very beautiful process. But if you're going through it right now and you're just crying and you're just feeling so much pain and you don't understand why the harshness of reality is true, you don't understand why it's so painful, you don't understand why you have to cry things out, like you feel so frustrated, you feel so hurt, you feel so upset by, like, maybe someone you felt like abandoned you, maybe you feel like you don't know what to do with this pain, you don't know what to do with this energy. Just know that you have to release it. You have to let it go. You have to cry it out, journal, meditate, sit with those feelings. Just know that those feelings will pass. Like, that emotion of sadness, of hurt, of anger, those will pass. But you have to, like, let it go through your body. You're safe to feel your feelings. You're safe to do that. Just know that. And just know that it is a journey. It's trying to appreciate the journey and not the destination of what this means for you. So just know that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions about your spiritual awakening. Let me know in the comments for that, and what you're going through. I want to know how you're doing. Let me know, because I know when I went through mine after my breakup, it was intense. Like, I never thought I would be doing YouTube. I never thought I would be making videos online. I never thought I would be able to show my face online. I made a video of my story of, you know, what I went through as a kid, and I'll make a full in-depth video on that here on YouTube, but I have it still up on Instagram if you want to check that out. But it was a journey, it was a process, and just know that if I was able to get through it, you are too. Just know that you are able to get through it. You're able to find peace. you are able to find peace. Just remind yourself of that. Just know that it's okay that not every day will be good, not every day will be bad, and it's embracing both of these. It's embracing both the good and bad days. So I hope this helps. I really, really hope this helps. Let me know if you resonated with this video at all in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions for me on your spiritual awakening, on what you're going through, what you're processing, how to find peace. If you would just like to join a welcoming, loving, supportive astrology and art-based community, I have a Patreon community, the Moon Sign Creative community. The link for that is down below as well. And if you would just like a birth chart reading from me as well, like I am an astrologer, so I offer one-on-one sessions and I could look deep into your chart and we can just see what's happening for you, what you're experiencing, and whatever you need to process. So the link for that is down below as well. But thank you again for watching. I just want to say the universe has your back, and peace and love. Take